Right, before the video starts, I just want to say, make sure to join the Discord. We got a bunch of funny emojis. A lot of them are skull emojis. But aside from that, we have some of the best FLM sound designers in here, such as VinnyT Music, CryoFluid, Frostwind, PMP Official, and one not many of y'all know of, Everlast. So drop by, chat with them, chat with many others. I'll see you there. Alright, welcome back to another video a tutorial video after a few months of me not uploading a tutorial. But this time, instead of like something else, not as cool, we're doing melodic, rhythm, and color bass because everyone likes creating on FL Studio Mobile now. So I'm going to show every single technique I know, and yeah, that's basically the gist of it. So I'll get to playing this audio file and another audio file from another project I'll be showing. But this specific file I'm in, I will give it away to the people. So without further ado, let's get right into this. So the first type of melodic rhythm slash color bass we're gonna break down is with the Supersaw Unison Phase and detune method. So I'll go ahead and show some examples right now. Here's a more simple version from another project of mine. I'll just be showing the effects rack, and then you can see what's being automated here. Here are two other variants, one where I'm messing with the LFO, as you can see on these automation effects right here, and another one where I'm doing the same thing, but I have a parametric EQ helping it. So I'll go ahead and play both of them right now. I just find this one really cool. And you can also make sounds like this with the method I'm going to show you. Alright, so here's the sound without effects. I'm just leaving the limiter on for volume reasons. And here's the sound with all of its effects. Alright, so I'll be just breaking down the synthesizer. So right here on the Supersaw, as you can see on the automations, I'm automating the detune. And the detune, if I were to take that off, it would sound like this. But you add detune, and like you start it off either detuned or like, I guess not detuned. But either way, you could start it off either way, which one you like. But this just adds more variation to it and more, it just makes it sound, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, it makes it sound full. Yeah, but yeah. And then as you can see, I'm also automating the unison phase, although it's staying still most of the time. But I will tell you that a lot of these things with the unison phase, you don't need to create moving automations like this. You can just have an automation dot, because really it doesn't, the unison phase doesn't follow like any other automation really. So if I play it like this, like notice how I move that down to here just so to create a moving automation. You'll see it move on the side right here, like you'll see this move, but you'll just hear two distinct tones. You won't actually hear it morph into those tones, as you can hear. So another thing I will mention is that you can have it doing moving automations like this, because you are limited to however much these dots can move. Like if I move it just one space, then you can see how big of a jump that is. And in those spaces it's missing, there is like tons of tones. Since this is like a slider, there's tons of tones it's missing. And if I just keep playing it over and over like this, I'll just do this and play it over and over. You can hear a lot of the different tones. Now that's just me moving it with my finger. And as you could hear, some of them sounded out of key. That's another thing with the unison phase when you have retrig on. Remember to have retrig on when you're doing this. There's some tones that are out of key, but there's some tones that just make it sound great. That's another thing I want to discuss or say about it. Now that that's out of the way and you know what to do when making the automations for that, another thing I will mention is, one thing I do sometimes is I could have the cutoff or the level on the hertz setting for the LFO on Supersaw. Right now I chose cutoff, but sometimes I automate it, right? And you can't hear it with the reverb, so let me turn it off. Actually, let me turn the leveler off too. Or leveler. Actually. Okay, there. You can hear it, just moving really fast. That's a thing I do with it. And really, you won't be able to hear it much when it's masked by all this reverb, but it's more felt than heard. And that's basically it for the Supersaw. So all you really need to do on the Supersaw, unless you don't want to automate the LFO, just 12 voices, go to voices, you can have it at 8 voices, and nothing on the effects over here, nothing on the mod over here, and output level, I just have a bit of attack on it, it's not much. Yeah, you can see the settings here. And that's basically that. Now for the effects, these sounds rely heavily on reverb. So like, obviously if I take these off, the other sounds I showed before I started explaining everything rely way more on this. But what I'm explaining here is like, I mainly use the older reverb. Like the newer reverb, I could put the same settings I have on this older reverb on this newer updated reverb and it would not be the same. So unless you have a project where like the older reverb is in it, or like you can just download this project I'm in right now and then get the older reverb from that, then you can't really make a sound like this. Well, you can, but it won't be as loud and it would sound less roomy. When I do that on here, like this reverb, it sounds more mono. So really what I do to like get this, I'll just like go ahead and change it. You can hear it just change. So really what I use on this, like the preset most of the time, except for this time, is this thing. So on main, I have the decay turned to 0. I have the mix turned all the way to 100. I keep the room size either all the way to 0, or you could lift it just a bit up. Like if I lift it just a bit up, all the way down, there's a noticeable difference. Another thing is keep the diffusion low. If I have it all the way up, yeah, you can hear a difference there. And then the width, I just keep it to where it's mono, and then the stereoizer and the spacers can just widen it out. Now, if I have this, like if I turn it up while playing it, like some may like it wide. I like it not so wide. It sounded weird, sorry. But another thing is you could add low cut to get rid of some low frequencies in the sound, like I just want to turn it up all the way. Yeah, but high cut, mod speed, and mod amount, I keep that all the same. Now this reverb up here is honestly optional. I most of the time just use this and no other reverb, like literally just keep one reverb on the effects. But in this case, I decided to do that. Now another thing is leveler automations. As you can see, I have those here, and that's just so it gives each sound its distinct part. Now if I turn that off, yeah, it's gonna sound like that. So remember to add your leveler automations. And even if you don't have reverb, or the reverb is like this, there's still a tail on the back of it. So in case you don't want that tail, remember to add leveler automations. And then here's the Param EQ thing I mentioned. Here's it, actually it's more prominent on this one. Here's it without, here's it with. And in that one I showed before, it's far more prominent. And then on here, you can add any type of EQ you want. You can EQ it as much as you want. Here, I just added a graphic EQ and lowered the low ends. Now, if I take that off, turn it on. Yeah. And then here, I have a stereoizer. Now, most of my melodic rhythm basses, I also put a chorus to add depth to the sound, but I just do that here. And I always put my timbre at 82. I don't know why. I just like it at 82. And if I turn off the stereoizer, it sounds like this. Far more choppy. You can even see it on the limiter. So I'll play that again and then turn it on really quick. You can see how there's more of a delay or something on the limiter, and you can even hear it when I turn it on. Like it makes it wider, and then it just adds like a tail to it, but not as much as like the reverb would if you just left it there. And yeah, that's basically how to make the first variant of the detune and retrig unison phase melodic rhythm bass. I'll show another variant I did with this in the drop I showcased earlier. So this one, it's basically the same thing, except I'm just like taking full control of the automation, or like not the automation, the whatever the retrig does. So like you can see here, minimal automation. I'm honestly not even using these LFOs, so you can just count those out. But as you can see, I'm gonna just play this. Okay, we're back. And that was funny. That has never happened to me before. I'm on 4.0.1. Hopefully they add some bug fixes. But we're not going to let that stand in the way too long. So, as I was saying, I'm just letting the unison phase automation take full hold of this sound. Like this sound right here is basically the same as, where is it? This sound right here. And this middle one has an ARP on it. Now, this one, yeah, minimal automation, you can just hear it. yeah, and you can see I'm not automating anything for it to just get that. It's morphing on its own. And I'll just show here. I'll just show this one. Now you can exclude these automations and these LFO automations, like I said. And the only ones I'm automating are really just. Now it's called phases offset, but it's a unison phase. I don't know why it's called that, but like, yeah, you can see those are the only two things moving. And on here, I have two reverbs. Huh. Let me see. Okay, so one adds more reverb and the other just makes it dry. Yeah, that's another thing I do. And then I always have some distortion on there, because without distortion, and I either leave it on tube or soft. I never put it on hard or clip. And you can see here just some EQing out some frequencies. Have an analyzer to help me here see those frequencies. And yeah, here's a chorus. Now if I turn off the chorus, turn off both. And you can see I have a spacer here. Yeah, that's basically the sound. So as a recap to these, actually let me just show this one. This one's basically the same as the sound I just showed, except the EQing's different because it's an ARP. And that's about it. It's all the same except it's an ARP. Oh yeah, and I actually kept these reverb automations because it does this. And if I turn that off, yeah. So as a recap, detune, unison phase, remember to have your read trig on, reverb is key, the old reverb is key, remember to make it dry, decay 0, mix 100, room size 0, diffusion, you could turn it up just a bit, width, put that at whatever you want, low cut, you can either have it at 0 or around halfway. And then high cut, mod speed, and mod amount, I don't mess with that. Everything else is up to you. All the EQing, all the chorus, and stereoizer and spacer, however wide you want it to be. But always remember to add a limiter. Just always remember to add the limiter. Alright, the next method is going to be the bandpass method. So here's what that sounds like. And I'll show like one more example because I honestly hardly use this method. And the last time I used this method was from an earlier version of this project. Alright, so I'm going to break down just one sound. I'll show all three layers just so y'all know what they sound like. And I'm going to go for this one. I like the way this one sounds. So these last few I've been showing, even this one, relies on retrig. And you can see it moves. Not as much on detune, it's just like a normal supersaw, but I'm pretty sure you could just automate detune if you wanted to. Oh yeah, I am automating it. And I'm also automating the pulse width, which like I hardly ever do. But yeah, so aside from that, everything I already told you about, how to automate all that, what to do with all that. So what I'll be showing here is like basically the bandpass, yeah. So one thing I want to say, if I turn this off, it's going to be very much high end. So I'm going to turn this down for y'all and then play it. Yeah, see, that was pretty loud, but you turn the bandpass on. And here I just have a phaser on it. Yeah, adding phaser, flanger, effects like that can make your sound more interesting. Now here, I probably made the EQing a lot more complicated than it needed to be. I'll turn off the EQ just so y'all can hear what it sounds like without it. Yeah, so a lot of low end, and that's basically what this was doing. And I did the automation before I actually did the EQing, so I would know what to actually EQ out. And then obviously you got your chorus, your stereoizer, and here I added a compressor. Now this project is also very old, which is why you can see the old limiter. I'm not going to turn the old limiter off because I'm pretty sure the sound would be very loud. Yeah, but that's all that's on this sound. And what I'm doing for the bandpass is I have it at a very high resonance, because if you kept it at a low resonance, but oh yeah, I'm also automating it to be at 75, but you have it at a high resonance, very high resonance. Yeah, so that wow kind of thing gets more prominent. And I most of the time have it over here set to 24 dB/oct. I honestly don't know what dB/oct is, probably like decibel/octave, but I'll show other like this. Yeah, and that's why I like this one more. And yeah, just automating this. Also, I automated at a specific frequency, because if I turn this up, yeah, it just does that. So like there's specific parts where like you can do that. And that other thing I showed on the earlier version of this project was going like dum, 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 dum. You can also make variants like that. Like I'll just make a quick one here. Now I do have these starting from a higher point, and this isn't the best type of automation to show it, but yeah. And another thing I would like to mention is you do not have to use a bandpass method with just a supersaw. You can use it with basically anything. You can use it with direct wave, translator bass, GMS obviously, for dubstep basses. Here I'm just using it with Supersaw because I use Supersaw a lot for melodic rhythm basses. And yeah, that's about it for the bandpass method. But I'm pretty sure you can also combine the bandpass method with like a tape delay or a bunch of tape delays to develop a resonator. And like that, that's the next thing we're going to be getting into, because yeah, we're done with the supersaws. We're done with the supersaw techniques. Alright, so I'm going to showcase this resonator from a project I showcased a few months ago. And here are the resonator, or like the tape delays. And credit where credit is due, I learned the resonator technique from Vinny from VinnyT Music. And I'll also show another thing I found while doing this resonator technique. But right now, I'll just play the sound with and without resonator. And then here it is without resonator. Yeah, so basically I just have supersaws on here. They're set to like low decay and then no sustain at all. Now I'm kind of treating this like oh yeah, also I have them on low detune just to get more of a tonal sound. I'm kind of treating this like layering chord stacks too. So have the, I guess you would say normal. and then normal, but it's like altered a bit. And then you have the more raw sounding sound. And when you layer those, obviously. Okay, now I'll show y'all how I do the resonator. And I'll also show y'all, well, first I'll show y'all how the resonator, like how I do the resonator. So Vinny, he actually like looks at an analyzer over here. Let me see. Yeah, he goes to pitch and then he just looks around the sound area. Like if I were to do this, he can I honestly don't know how he does it. He can read it and then he can tell what's in pitch and what's not in pitch. For me, I literally just ear it. So I'm gonna just let me do this. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna just repeat this sound, and then I'm gonna choose this one. I'm gonna turn the feedback to 85 so y'all can hear what I'm doing. I'm gonna turn this all the way to 80 so y'all can still hear what I'm doing. And I'm gonna just like slowly move this, and I'll explain what I mean. Okay, see, and it's already out of key, so I'm gonna just keep repeating it. Yeah, so you could see, you could, oh, no, yeah, you could hear and see, like, you could hear me, like, just see me moving it, but while it's moving and still in that number position, like, it's still in 3, but I'm still moving it, you can hear it, you can hear the sound changing, you can hear the millisecond delay getting faster and faster, and you can also hear it getting out of tone. And that's what I'm doing. And in each one of these numbers, I feel is like a whole scale of something. I'm not sure if it's like just a 12 scale type thing or like there's like 24 semitones in each scale. It's like really specific, and it's probably in the nanosecond range too when I'm moving it like that. But that's what I do for every single one of them. I just like sit there and then I'm just like slowly moving it to find where I like to get in the key. And you could hear it when I got back into the 8 second range millisecond zone where it originally was. You could hear it get in key, like to where it was before, and then you could hear it get right out of key when I moved out of that spot. And that's everything here. So like, if you were just to copy all these settings and like copy all of this and like all the automations too, and you're like, okay, I'm finally gonna make the resonator, and you just copy all the settings here, you're not gonna get that same sound, because I'll just turn it to 8 again. All right. Yeah, I turned back to 8, but it's not the same sound, because you gotta go so specific and you gotta go so slow to the point where you finally get that right in key sound. So I'll just do it here. Yeah, so it took a bit to actually get there. And yeah, that's what I did for every single one of these sounds. So I could make a new resonator right now just so I could show y'all. Actually, I like reset all this, but I'm just trying to remember where I kept the settings from. But I'm gonna just like make a new resonator. Like I'm gonna just switch all these back to their specific things, and then the resonator, I'll show y'all what I do for them. So for the first one, I mainly go for the lower note, and as I progress upward, I make the notes get higher. Like I had the last one at like, let's say I have it at 26, I'll make the next one like probably a few milliseconds up, and then etc. so on. And basically what that allows me to do is I'm basically creating a chord tonality with these resonators and their millisecond delay times, because it's going so fast it just creates that sound. So I'll pause it real quick and then I'll make that. All right, so you got the bottom note here. And now I'll go to another note in between. So this is what it's gonna sound like before. Yeah, so normal delay, and then you go like. Yeah, and you got the second note. Yeah, and then you get what I mean. So on, you turn this up. Yeah, that's at 80. I'm gonna just turn it to 100. And yeah, you can see 17, 15. I'm not gonna follow like specific odd numbers if I like a thing where it's at. I won't go too far to the point where it's like probably over 8 digits away. I'll probably go like from 15 and try to target it at like, yeah, 14 through 11. I would try to target the next note at. So yeah, and you got its next note, like, yeah, and then so on, like I said, and you could go down to like 13, what was that, like 68. Yeah, and that's how I do the resonator. Now, this was just quick. I probably spent around like probably 10 to 20 minutes just sitting there and going to pick the right like specific tones I will find and I will like. And then I also spend some time messing with the mix and feedback just because you're going to want some tones to be more pronounced than others. Yeah, and then this sound is just like a bunch of this and a bunch of that. Oh yeah, another thing is with the resonator technique, there's going to be a lot of you're going to want a lot of you're going to target a lot of frequencies, like a lot of tonal frequencies. So actually, let me delete that. All right. So as I'm saying this, like, you can see specific frequencies hanging out. So I'll turn this sound down so y'all don't have to turn y'all's headphones, earbuds, whatever y'all are listening with, down. And I'll boost this frequency to target out a specific frequency. All right, so I'm targeting that one out, the ones I like. Doo, 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 doo. And the way I do this is I will use a param EQ, like multiple, and turn the bandwidth to 0, boost the gain, and target out that frequency like I just did there. You can see on the analyzer. Or you could use a tuned EQ, turn the bandwidth all the way down or way lower, like low, probably around this low, or all the way down. And I would target it depending on which key it's in. Now the way I find the key is like this. So you hear the tone. Actually, let me turn that up a bit. Yeah, so it's like doo, 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 doo. And it's probably A. So it's probably in the key of A. You just... And there it is. There's a tone. So I found it in the key of A. Now what I would do is I push it down with here, but I'm also boosting it here, which is kind of counteractive, but I'm just providing an example. Yeah, okay. I honestly don't think that was in the key of it, but bad explanation, but y'all get what I mean. Y'all get what I mean. But yeah, that's the resonator technique. Just remember to get an analyzer and see those frequencies right there. Just see which ones are peaking out. Like you can see which ones are really prominent, and then remember to find those frequencies and then put them down like this. And so do that. Yeah, so you see that really peaked out frequency? and it's lagging a lot. Yeah, so you could hear a difference. But yeah, that's about it for the resonator technique. You can apply it on literally anything. I'm just putting it on these supersaws. You can put it on your dubstep basses. You can put it on like, yeah, dubstep basses, melodic basses, even chords, I did that in this project I'm about to show right now. And here we are. So I use the resonator technique right here. And I have only 3 tape delays doing it, but I also have tuned EQs. I match those sounds in to EQ everything out. And another thing I will now mention, since we're still in the resonator technique thing, I'm going to call this part 2, I guess, is, yeah, so here's a dubstep bass. Hopefully this does not lag. I'm going to turn on multi-core processing just in case. So that's it with the resonator. Now if I turn off the resonator, and then back on, you can just hear it makes it more grimy, and it's far more prominent on this one. So that's that one. That's before, and that's after. Yeah, so that's basically the resonator technique on growls. And I just have that on the effects chain because everything here is affected by the resonator. So next, I'll be doing how to make the crystallizer, because we're going to go into the crystallizer variant of melodic rhythm. All right, now we're at the crystallizer. And again, big shout out to Vinny from VinnyT Music, because he also showed me how to make the crystallizer, which was a big help. All right. So here's the crystallizer sound without any effects, just a completely raw Supersaw synth. And then here it is with all the effects. All right. So first I'll be mentioning how it is made in Supersaw. So basically, you get yourself just a normal Supersaw. You can see the nothing fancy in the front, just like detune speed, and obviously the unison pan makes it wider. Like, well, you can't hear that here, but you get what I mean. Most of y'all get what I mean. Okay, so one thing I will mention also on the filter area, keep your cutoff low around halfway. Don't put it all the way up or all the way down. And then resonance. Now you can see this is a bit higher because that resonance isn't peaking. If it was peaking resonance, like if I had it turned all the way up, then it would sound like this. Yeah, and that's like a bit irritating. So you just turn it down a bit. Let's see. Yeah, it was right there. And that's more at a way more comfortable level. And then the really important part is the LFO. Like if I turn the LFO off, it's just a low cutoff, high resonance supersaw. But once you have like once you go in the hertz section and then turn it to cutoff and then like put this at around halfway. Like obviously if you have a 0, it's gonna sound like that. If you have it all the way up, and I'll just turn it down as the sound plays. Like you can hear to where it gets to a comfortable level. And I had it like at 46.9. You know, I'll just put at 47. And remember, the shape is to random because this is what it sounded like if it was any other shape. Yeah. And then the rate, now when I saw it, when I saw how he made it, yeah, the rate is like you want it anywhere from like between 3 and 6. That's where I found it the most comfortable, because you just have it low. It's like that. You have it like here. Or if you have it like at 1. Yeah, but if you have it any higher than 6, you can just hear it changing a lot faster until you get to like, yeah, incomprehensible levels. But yeah, I just had it around 4. Because that's where I find it most comfortable. And here's like not much. I just have a tack turned up, mod there, 8 voices, because remember you have a chord on, and then nothing in the effects, because all the effects are really done here. And now I'll get into the effects for making the Crystalizer. So you got a filter here, just taking away a lot of low end. And yeah. And then you got a trance delay, because this is really what the Crystalizer is. Like, you turn that off. It's like a more felt than heard thing, as Skybreak would say. And then you got Reverb 2. Reverb 2 helps tremendously in this sound. So like you can see the dry level is down, the wet level is more up, like it's halfway. And then you got low cut there, taking away some low frequencies. You got high cut just a bit. I think that's default. Yeah, that's default. And then here, everything's mainly the same. Alright, where was I? I just let the dogs in. So I think I was at reverb. But yeah. So all the settings are really over here. And you can see them, and that causes sound go from to. Yeah, and then you got some phaser, flanger, just adds this. Like, not much of something. You could turn the mix up so you could hear more of it, but it's optional. And then you got EQ in here, take out the low end. Like, I don't got to really cut it. Yeah. So I'm taking out a lot of low end here and then boosting the high end a lot. And then finally down here you got a chorus, stereoizer, and 2 spacers to make it really wide. And then you're also just adding like left-right delay to make it wide. And I just got a limiter down here where I'm turning the gain down a lot. Alright, now that we got over the Crystalizer, we can now go into EQ automation, Crystalizer growls. Or not growls, but like, yeah, I guess growls, basses. So, where is it? Okay, yeah. So we're working with sounds like that. And, oh, I misplaced it. Yeah, okay, here we go. Yeah. So, basically, everything here is the same as a Crystalizer, except I changed up the EQing a bit because I have a resonator here, like on the effects channel, like I explained before. And then you also have a EQ automation taking place. And I think everyone knows how to do EQ automation right now. In case you don't know, you turn the gain to -12, you set it on low shelf for band 1, band 2 is mainly, you have it at a peak, you set the bandwidth from like 10 to 0, I have it at 5, and then you turn the gain to wherever your desired height is. And then band 3, you have that one at a peak, but like you have it at low bandwidth, and then again, 10 to 0, I have it at 8, and then I'm having the gain all the way to 0, and then band 4, you have that at a high shelf, I actually have this at over a bandwidth of 10. You can see it at 16. And then I'm boosting it by 5.5 decibels. And all of these follow their own respective things. Like band 1 follows band 2. So like you can see here, band 1 is around right here above 25% of the way, and then band 2 is over here above 25% of the way. And you got band 3 over here, it's right smack on 75, and then band 4 just a bit above it. Now you can also have it where it's not just a bit above it, it's like farther from it, but here I found it more desirable to have it like that. And then you can obviously see the movement. Yeah, and that's really it for how to make a crystallizer growl. There's really no other way from what I know. And without it, it's just going to be this. And it sounds like that just because of the what's it called, EQing. But yeah, that's how you make a crystallizer growl. Just basic EQ automation. But I will mention this in that was odd. Always layer a growl base. Like seriously, always layer your growl bases. Wait, there's a jet going by. Anyway, here are the growl bases. It's basically the same thing, except it's like 2 GMSs stacked on each other. And you get that. And then, yeah, EQ automations, like it's just a simple, boring growl. And I'll explain what else you could do with your growls later, like your basic growls, not like crystallizer growls. But yeah, here we go. So you play them both. And you could hear like that. It obviously adds more depth, it adds more grittiness, because without it, versus with. And then don't forget your sub bass or mid bass. So your sub bass and mid bass layered with it. Yeah. And another thing, you can have any type of mid bass you want. So my sub bass is like a noise bass. It's just like sine, square, smooth. You could have a sine plus sine. I have the noise up. I have the balance kind of turned down. I'm distorting it with tube on 25% on the drive. And I'm taking out the mids to make room for the mid bass. And you got a compressor without the compressors. With. But like, it adds like a certain sound to it, even though it makes it quieter. And you got a limiter on it just to make sure it doesn't peak anywhere. And then you got the mid bass. Yeah, and I also have tape delays here. Yeah. And these are the settings for it. Have it more mono. And actually, I think these are the 2 GMSs I use for the growls. So I just basically took away the EQ automation and everything else. I made it a growl, and then just made it a mid bass. You can layer it. It actually sounds pretty nice, pretty gritty. So without. Do I have that? Okay, what if I turn that off? Okay, and then on. Yeah. So always add a mid bass and a fat sub bass to your melodic rhythm growls. Alright, so here we have another crystallizer growl, and it's following the same technique as the other one, where you got a crystallizer growl and then you got an actual growl bass under it, so it's more gritty. But here I have a leveler, and without it, so I have that acting as a leveler for these two, so I'm not wasting that much CPU power. That's another thing I found out, but I'm not going to change that all on all of my projects. But yeah, you can see the settings on here. The EQing is really complicated, and it should not be that complicated. I don't know why I made it like that, I just did. Alright, so I got interrupted right when I started to film about the growl bass in this layering of the Crystalizer and growl bass. So I'll start over on it. So I was talking to Frostwind, and he was mentioning that normal EQ automation growls, like just using the EQ automation and nothing else, are boring and they all sound the same. And honestly, I do agree on that. Like, many people have used that method, right? And you can easily tell now just like when they're using it. So I mentioned to him that adding effects fixes that problem. Like, here I have flanger, phaser, and another phaser, and I'm actually automating both of these phasers, funnily. And if I turn them off, but then you add them back, and it sounds like that. And the EQing on this one, yeah, it's a bit complicated like the last. Doesn't need to be that complicated. And you just got a limiter, a sterilizer. Did I have a chorus down there? Yeah, I also had a chorus. So without those two, and then we have a reverb here. And then we got another dry reverb, so if I take that off, yeah, it just opens up the sound a bit more. And that's basically it. So here I'm not automating anything else except here on the EG, where I'm automating the pitch on the amount, and that is this automation. So and that's basically this growl bass. It's just a growl bass with a few other effects on it, and then you layer that with the Crystalizer. And if I take that off, then I'll layer it with the sub bass and mid bass. And then here it is again with the growl bass. And you can see, or here, it is way fuller, much fuller. Alright, now we're on to our last technique, which is on a Supersaw once again, but this time we're utilizing the resonance and we're actually automating the cutoff, and you could also choose to automate the KBD TRK or the VEL TRK. And I'm just using the Crystalizer thing I made here, except I found this way through experimenting, obviously. But yeah, so I'll just get into breaking down this sound. So I'll play everything without the effects, although I'm leaving the limiter on. Yeah, and it sounds pretty cool by itself, right? With just that, and it's optional to just leave it like that with a few EQing, but here it is with all the effects. Also, delay and reverb is optional. Okay, and what's primarily making it sound all like it's everywhere is just the chorus and spacers. Put them back on. Yeah. Okay, so I'll go ahead and explain how this was generally made. So you don't need the retrig on. Yeah, it's not much of a noticeable difference. But you can see here, voices at 12. Over here, I have the voices at 8. And nothing on the effects, nothing on the mod, nothing here. Yeah, just a bit of attack, like always. And then the LFO, it's basically the same as the crystallizers. You just have it shape at random. You have the rate between 3 and 5. And you got the amount over here set at 40 through 50, where I like it. And then you have the destination set to cutoff. And if you play no LFO, it sounds like this. Yeah, so very noticeable difference. Now I'll show two other methods right before I explain this. So here I have the resonance peaked all the way up. Without it, it's just a supersaw and I'm automating the cutoff and then the KBD2RK. But as you turn that up, it becomes that. And these automations, the way I made them is by literally just doing this, making sure none of them are sliding around. And I just have them at like separate lengths. I don't really care how long or short they are. It could be like that. I just make sure to have them straight like that and not bending downward or something like that. I'll just delete that. My screen recorder is in the way. And there we go. Yeah. But if I just hold this down, then you got a second one. And this is also optional with this one, but I just chose to do the other one. Now I'll show the other ways of doing the same exact technique. Alright, so here's a different way I did this one. And the effects are a bit different. I'll just delete the unnecessary ones. So right now it just sounds like this. Turn the steroid and the spacer off. Obviously less airy and less spaced out. But so another thing I'll mention with the automations, you can have them either elongated or you could just squish them up to where they go really fast like this. And also I'm also mismatching them so they don't line up. And the sound is a bit more, I would say chaotic. But yeah, that's what I do here to create a rhythm. You can hear the rhythm when I repeat this. Yeah. And here I'm automating it. And I'm automating the VLTRK this time. And this time around, I don't have anything in the LFO, nothing here. See, the voices are at 8. And the settings are basically the same. Just like a normal supersaw, except with really high resonance, and then you're automating the cutoff that way, or one of these two of your choice. And these filters are just taking away high end and low end. And then this EQ is just taking away high end and low end too. Another thing I'd like to mention is I kind of changed some stuff up, but I was trying to remake a certain sound or like this drop or some whatever it is in general made by Skybreaker in one of his Twitch streams. Yeah, so I'm trying to remake like that crystallized airy sound you hear in the background. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can hear it. But I kind of got that sound with this one right here. Yeah. And so it follows around the same method. I didn't really change any settings except for the EQ. Like if I turn the EQ off. Yeah, it's just taking away a lot of harsh frequencies. I won't take all the EQ off because it's like really loud. but I'll explain how I did this here. So I'm basically doing the same thing. You can see I'm automating the KBD right here, and I'm not automating the cutoff this time. And the reason I'm not doing that is because I found tonality in the cutoff. So if I do this, you'll hear it change. So I'm gonna just set a repeat right here, a loop, and you'll just hear it change tone as I move the slider on the cutoff. Yeah. And I didn't give it back in key, but another thing is I accidentally tapped the resonance. So I'll just do that. Alright, I got everything back to normal, just cut it. But yeah, as you could hear, as I keep the cutoff moving, you can hear it gets in key in some places and then really out of key in other places. And another thing I'd like to mention is you don't turn the resonance all the way up, because if you turn the resonance all the way up, it sounds like this. You have to turn it like very slightly down. Like if there was a percentage knob on here, it'd probably be at like 97. Yeah. And then finally here, if I'm not automating this, it's in key. You can hear the resonance in key with the chords. And then as you move this, and that's how I did that. I just automated up. Oh, I automated up to a certain extent, because if I just have it like down here, it also makes it get out of key or in key. I'm just gonna do that. And I'm pretty sure you could do the same here. Like, let me play this. Never mind, they functionally do two different things in this case. But yeah, that's about it for the cutoff and resonance technique. This is just more of a top layer to add. Like in the second project audio file I played in the beginning of the video, that sparkly stuff you could hear in the drop, that was basically me using this technique, layering it on top of the Crystalizer and Growl basses. I just use this as a layer to go on top of things. But this is also something else to just use as plain ambience. But yeah, that's about it for the color-based tutorial as of now. And I think next I'll either do like a really quick future rhythm tutorial or something more heavy like dubstep basses, or I'll try out tear out maybe in the next few weeks. But yeah, thanks for sticking around if you did. And if you just skipped around in certain places in the video, I don't really mind either. Everything's really up to you since I have everything timestamped, because this is such a long video. I think we're over an hour right now. But yeah, thank y'all for watching, and whoever made it to the end of the video, comment, I don't know what you should comment. Comment hi. Just comment hi and nothing else. But yeah, that's about it. And guess I'll see y'all in the next video. Goodbye, y'all.